and welcome to this episode of the DC Life Podcast. Today, we're going to chat with someone about something in the life of our church. Well, today we have another of our Getting to Know You podcasts, and we are very lucky to have in the studio with us Zoe Logan. Welcome,
Hi, Zoe.
Hey. It's great to have you, and we're excited to hear a little bit more about your faith journey and the story of how you got here. So, you are fairly recently married.
Yes.
How long have you been married?
7 months.
Wow, so less than a year. Nice and early. Still technically newlyweds, I think.
Totally.
Yeah,
Yep.
milk it. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And you're married to our youth worker at DC, Nathan.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. And you get to serve alongside Nathan quite a bit in the youth ministry role. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But first, we want to hear about you and I guess what life was like for you as a young child and how you grew up and what led you to Disciples Church.
We only have 20 minutes, so we'll keep it real.
Good job.
But life started in Dalby. I was born in Dalby.
Country. We've had so many
Yes.
people starting in
Yeah.
the country.
Yeah, it didn't last long. I was there for 2 years, and I don't think I've adopted much of the country spirit. But
You do talk a bit country.
do I really?
Not really. No.
Okay. And then I followed mum and dad, obviously, down to Sydney, and they were doing Bible college. So they were, I don't know if they knew, but they were doing Bible college and eventually heard about this, place called Betel over in Spain. And so at the age of 6, once again, followed mum and dad over to Spain. And
Don't think you had much of a
I
choice.
didn't. I wouldn't have it any other way. But so we lived in Spain for 2 years. So I was a missionary kid.
Yeah.
And that was like prep. So I grew up like foundational years learning Spanish in a Spanish school in Spanish culture. And it can probably explain a lot of like who I am as to that. But yeah, and then at 8, we actually came back for a holiday to visit family in Australia, and our visas weren't redone, so they weren't accepted. So we were actually like stuck here.
Yeah.
The whole plan was to always go back to Spain, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
But we were stuck here, and that's when we joined Betel Australia. It's the same mission, but in Australia, just a lot smaller. And we moved to Melbourne to do that. So I lived in Melbourne for 6 years, up until grade 9. And then in grade 10, through a series of dreams that Dad got and then phone calls to answer such dreams, he got called by God to change from like mission to being a pastor. We came up here, and he was a pastor at Central. And that is where, I came to Queensland.
In Ipswich.
Central.
Yep.
Radio.
Yeah. And then I went to Westside, and that led me to Nathan, which, long story short, to DC.
Yeah.
Now you have siblings.
Yeah.
So you're one of
5.
5. And where do you sit in the order?
I'm the eldest.
You're the eldest.
I'm big sis.
The
Yep.
wisest and the most mature.
Is it okay to say yes? Humbly, yes. They're very little.
We'll give it to you, seeing as you are the oldest of the family. That's all right.
Maybe not forever.
And it sounds like you had a pretty lovely home life growing up. You know, your parents are obviously Christians. And were you very involved in the ministry that they were a part of?
I think I wasn't always understanding all of it. You know, that is quite a huge, grand, like your whole life changing for mission is a big thing.
Yeah.
And even now as an adult, like I struggle with that. But I definitely think, I loved being able to partake in like mum and dad's ministry. It was super sweet. And the ministry worked with people coming off addictions. So people with either drug, alcohol.
Wow.
In Spain, it was really, really, really bad. And so, like, for lunchtimes on Sunday, we'd all go up to the main hall, and I'd be sitting next to, like, Bob and, I was going to say Greg. That's probably a bad name to use for this demonstration.
Not Greg.
Bob and Bill. And And yeah, you know, they were once addicts or coming out of addiction, and that was normal. Is to do life with people who are, I guess we would say, harder. And I loved it. Yeah,
That's very cool.
So tell us about how some of that kind of helped shape who you are and kind of what you're passionate about now.
I think the idea of mission is something that, through mum and dad, I got to see what that looks like in life every day, which is very different to some, Christian walks where it can just be a Sunday thing, or it can just be a certain activities or events or appearances thing, is that living a life for Christ and doing ministry with others and evangelism is, I guess, through growing up is I believe is essential as a follower of Jesus. And so I think it's definitely shaped part of my personality. Also, I think we all have different skills and gifts and ways in which we do ministry, either well, like maybe you are an encourager or someone that does really great discipleship.
Yeah.
I was actually talking about to one of my youth girls recently just about how I think evangelism, or just the aspect of inviting those in, has been something that just is really appealing to me.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I like that you said it's not strange, it's not unusual to spend your time in your life in that way. When most of society just thinks that, when you're done work or you finished whatever it is you need to do, then it's your time.
Yeah, clock off.
But, at DC, we want people to be engaging with their community and, like you said, evangelizing. We want that to be normal. It's really cool to have grown up in a way that's already normal. And you just get to bring that out and continue that in your adult life as well.
Definitely try.
It's cool.
Yeah.
So you grew up in a Christian home on the mission field. When did the Jesus thing become real? Was there like a point? Was it a turning point? Was it a slow burn? Like, what was your story?
So, it's interesting you ask, because one of my earliest memories is at Bible college. And I was
Sydney?
3, yeah.
Yeah.
And mum one night had sat down with me. And I guess, as parents, bringing your kids up to know Jesus is one thing. And then doing that whilst, again, like living out what it looks like every day, sacrificially, having Jesus being really real to you. I think for me, there's no question, there's no doubt. And I saw lives changed, and I saw mum and dad doing that at 3. So, I can't, psychologically wise, it's not going to be super
unusual
understanding. But yeah, I was just really young. But that night she sat down with me, and we do like our nightly devotions. And that night she said, well, Zoe, do you want to give your life to Jesus? Would you like to say a special prayer with me? And I remember being like, oh yes, that's all I want to do. Like, yes, let's do this at 3. And I would say that was my moment.
Yeah, cool.
Which blows me away, because it wasn't that I had extreme understanding or knowledge or experience. I was 3.
Literally a childlike faith.
Literally.
Yeah.
And he's grown that.
Yeah.
And he's been really gracious in that.
Yeah.
But it amazes me, I guess, that God has no limits, and he will choose to mould and shape and soften a heart when he chooses to do it. And I'm very grateful that he did, because I had no control. Again, there's no knowledge of mine. I wasn't like, oh, this is rational. This adds up. There was this pure heart softening and unfolding and being like, this is what Jesus is real to me, and I want to follow him. So yeah, that was my little moment.
Yeah, it's cool to think of, the studies we've been doing at Disciples Church in Romans, and talking a lot about how, we are chosen by him, and it's got nothing to do with us or what we can do. And it's really encouraging to hear how God can reach out to his people and draw them in and closer to himself, which is, it's just so amazing.
Yeah.
But how or who is, I guess, Jesus to you now, and as you've grown up, and how's that changed, and how has he sort of transformed you since such a young age? And, you know, you've had so many changes in your life, where you live, what mum and dad are doing, school, family, obviously getting more and more siblings as the older you get. A lot of change. So I guess, what kind of a work has Jesus been doing in you, and how have you been changed over that time?
I think throughout what my childhood was like, Christ, I can only pull it down to like he was a constant. So there was a lot of changes, and there was a lot of pain, and there was a lot of unrest and unpeace in different seasons, questions. And Lord, I don't get it, and I don't want to be here, and I don't know why you do the things you do. And recently, although there's been no extreme move, there's been many things to happen to my family that I don't understand. But I think what he did and how he worked in my childhood pointed to me that I can trust him, the control that he has. One, to take my heart when I was so young. And I can hold on to the fact that he is so above anything that I could plan or do, even in trusting in him. His love for me goes beyond the ability for me to trust in him in certain moments. He has never changed. And although my life has, he has been constant, and he is faithful, and his promises have never faltered for me. And then lately, I think for a childlike faith, it's really sweet. But to get more, and I've been reading like Gentle and Lowly, to get more of just the essence of who God is and his character, and then his character through Jesus, being able to have a relationship with the God of all creation is insane. And I think that has really recently really softened my heart to want him and to desire him, to want to be changed by him. And not just have this, I have faith because of faith. I trust because I trust. It's like, no, it's really hard to trust sometimes. But I'm growing to know who the character of God is and who he is like. The way through the whole entire Old Testament, points to the fulfillment of Jesus, and how God was just, I think we look to Jesus to be the one who we can physically see as merciful and patient. But God was always that. And he is a God of mercy, which is something I've been reading. So it's been really, lately, the growth that then does for my heart and my character, to want to be more like him, and to turn away from things of pride and things of my control and how I think I'm better, and all those things, like this sanctification process. I've definitely seen as well, for sure. So,
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Were there any bumps in the road along the way which caused your faith to be stretched or challenged? I know you sort of talk about God as your constant. Were there any moments that were kind of defining in your past?
I think, like you mentioned, the slow burn. I think that's what it was. Like, there was no point that I was like, this is it. I have to hold on to Christ real hard here. I do feel like it was just this constant, like he had me, and like I had no control over the fact that he had my heart and he gripped it. And forever I'm so grateful for that. I think in the past few years, with a particular sibling of mine, really wrestling with mental health has been something where I've had a lot of questions. And nothing that would ever pull me away from the Lord at all, but questions of why, and Lord, this hurts really badly. And in understanding his power and his the way that he changes hearts, and that being shown to me through my own life, I know he has every ability to do it. And I know he has every even desire, but his will, and that being that he might not change the hearts of the people that I love towards him, breaks me. And will never turn me away from loving God, but breaks me because it's is really hard.
Yeah.
The questions of why me, Lord? Like, why was I saved and not people that I love?
Yeah, it teaches us true surrender when we have to see that and live through those things and know that we are not in control, but God is sovereign. Even though, like you said, that can be really difficult and trying. He builds us through it.
And humility too, I think. It sort of just helps us remember God is God.
Yeah, and that's right. Like he had no reason to save one. We were destined for death. Like he had he didn't have to send Jesus. And so the fact that my life, and that's something that and that's why it hurts too, but something that I'm just being taken back by is like, Lord, you saved me. And instead of being like, why not this and this, be like, God, I can't ever stop being grateful for the fact that you changed my heart.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I have to share, but you've got it. Yeah.
Praise Jesus.
Yeah, amen.
Now, you are passionate about young people, and you're in our youth ministry, and you work on the team there with Nate and others.
Yes.
What motivates you to invest your time in the next generation?
Funny, because if we're going to be real honest, the start of my youth journey, I wasn't passionate.
God transforms.
I was like, I'm following this guy to this church, and he's really keen on ministry and youth. I'll do it too. But I'm so grateful for that. I think in just what I shared with my siblings, they are teenage years, full and through, and man, I have a position in their lives as their sister. But in going, like, they've had seasons of going to youth groups, you know. But I am so taken back by the position that youth group leaders have in their life, because I remember what that was like for me. It was huge. I didn't have an older sibling. I had no older influence in my life apart from my parents, and they're my everything. Very, very close with my parents. But that's not for everyone. I still remember, though, like my youth group leader and her impact on me. The way that gets you through, I would say, some really hard years of everyone's life. Identity is just so not understood of who you are, and you are being thrown at by the world, particular when you're very sensitive, I think, in teenagehood. Yeah. And so I was very grateful for the influence of my youth group leader. Always knew that it was a good thing, but I wouldn't say I was passionate about it. Yeah, until I followed Nate into it, until some stuff for my family happened. And I was so desiring for them to have people sowing into their life. I realised there's a move away from parental desire of their influence and a move towards peers. And if you can appear to someone as someone who they can trust and who loves you, but is also maybe a little bit different to your parents, the way that can be really worked through by God. And so I would say that, and then actually being involved. And the fact that every Friday, sometimes I walked in there being like, oof, another day, another youth group sesh. But I would walk away, and Nate can testify, nearly every single time, really encouraged, really passionate, really spurred on for the next Friday. Like, let's do this. Like, I'm really...
It's the beauty of ministry, hey?
Right? And I've been taught things, like I've been convicted. I'm constantly humbled by the kids that I do life with at youth group. And as much of a ministry that I might be doing for them, I think they're,
it's a two-way blessing thing.
Back.
And even, I know you're studying at the moment, but working in areas with other youth and young adults where you can take those skills and apply them into your work as well, which is really encouraging, and know how to have those gospel conversations or just those really positive conversations with others who need that. Yeah, it's cool.
It's across all areas, like as you said, I do work with a lot of teens. Then you got them at youth, but you never, like, teenage, the age bracket can often be one that people are like, ooh, that's hard. So sorry that you've got teenage. No. And I think it's shy away from it. However, it is so crucial. And, like, every teenager that I've met has something in their heart that they're wrestling through that's quite significant. and with study as well, as I'm studying psych, I see maybe more so now. I mean, I haven't had experience with previous teenagers of previous eras, but mental illness being really prevalent, really hard. And being able to do journeying alongside that to remind them of who God is, not his promise that it doesn't exist of, everything will be great and fine, but who Christ is amongst, them walking that out, I think is really crucial.
So you met Nate at West Side.
Yeah.
That's kind of where the romance began. And so since you guys have got married and you're doing kind of, ministry together in youth and stuff, tell us what that's like to do ministry with your significant other.
I really love it. I don't know how I can describe it. It's really encouraging. I think when you have moments of, just not feeling passionate or even hurt. The other thing about being in youth is that you get really invested into these kids' lives and you really, really love them. So you can also be really hurt by choices or maybe they're walking away from the Lord, and that has been a massive thing that you can come back together, even on a Friday, but you're still feeling it on a Saturday and then throughout the week and just be like, wow, why are we doing this? And I'll cry with you over the person who's not coming anymore, and I will encourage you over the growth that we have had as to how God is still working. And to be able to encourage each other, I think, is actually crucial. And I've so enjoyed it. I love doing little things behind the scenes with Nate too, our little plannings and prayers throughout the week that I feel are super sweet and get me ready and get me in a space where I'm excited for it. Yeah. I don't think I could do it without him, for sure. But I love uplifting him too. Like leading the youth group. I really love, raising him up and encouraging him as, in the position that he's in.
Yeah, that's really lovely. And a good encouragement for all of us to be, serving alongside one another in ministry and the ups and the downs as they come along.
What would you say in terms of youth ministry, what would you say are the most important things young people need to be doing in terms of, coming along and hearing the gospel and having relationships with people on this journey of faith, walking with Jesus together? What would you say to a young person right now who's thinking, I don't know if this youth thing's for me every Friday, but is there some encouragement you might offer a young person?
Apart from the fact that it's really fun.
You're there.
And I'm present. I was going to say a few things. I think youth is what you make of it. I will also be the first to admit that we are not the funnest. Isn't a word. And I recognise that, but we're not the funnest youth group out there. We don't have smoke and lights and party and, particularly high numbers that it can be super hyped, I guess.
Yeah, like a big event style.
No, that's not what it is and what it was and what the foundation of youth is. However, youth is what you make of it. I would say for kids who are considering or who are coming, that it's a space where there are people who are genuinely interested, not concerned in a bad way, but interested and concerned for both who you are and how you're going, but also where you're at a deeper spiritual level. Yeah, and you can't always get that. You can't always get that maybe from your family, maybe from people at school. And what you make of it, the way that it's a space where the inner turmoil, the inner questions, the hardships, the things that you don't quite get and you can't quite process, that you've tried to take to the Lord and you're not feeling like he's, either answered or he's present in those seasons, is a space where you can come and to, ask really hard questions and to be with people who are also journeying through that. And to be honest and to have a space where that's really safe and like you're not looked down upon for those things. You're not looked down upon through wrestling and struggling and challenging. And after all of our talks, you know, at the moment we're going through the characteristics of God, we ask and encourage the kids to have questions and to actually ask them. Because coming up to ask us is quite embarrassing. It can be quite difficult to appear that
Very
in front
vulnerable.
of your peers. But I would say it's maybe the only space sometimes in your week that you can do that with people who, outside of family and school, that
can be
actually
real.
want that. And we, you know, so don't want the Sunday school easy answers and questions. In fact, we are also going through similar things, and it's something that I, you know, encourage all of the kids to come with and want to dig into, because we're interested in that. We're not interested in a party and a fun time or just saying the word God and being like, I hope you guys get it. No, like we realise there's struggle.
Catch it.
Yeah, it's not COVID. That there are
By
questions.
the way, we're very COVID safe at youth.
Yes. No more hot dogs. Safe place. And yeah, we do have some fun. We have some giggles. You've got a community there of people that really love each other. And man, I've seen girls get together who I would never ever say on the street or at school would actually want to hang together.
Yeah.
And they come united by the Lord,
Yeah.
united by the fact that they want to talk and do things and journey. And they love each
Common
other.
purpose.
Yeah. It's really beautiful.
And it just goes to show you the power of relationships and of the gospel to change us and just to give us hope and to meet us wherever we are. So that's a really great encouragement. Thank you so much, Zoe, for coming in and chatting with us today and sharing about your ministry. It's a ministry I think we can all be praying for. And just, you know, getting our teenagers, encouraging our teenagers to be a part of. So thank you for the work that you do and with Nate as well.
So fun.
Leave us with a fun fact about Zoe Logan that we do not know. Go.
Actually, oh my goodness. I was going to do the whole country thing. Like, I've lived in Spain, but I've already...
You
already know that one.
You've told us that.
Like a weird skill or ability or favourite.
If we're going to go really strange, because the first thing that popped
The
into my
stranger,
head...
the better.
I have like a numb toe. Like my pinky toe doesn't have any movement and it sits on top of my other toes. Nate's like bowing his head in embarrassment right now.
Well, thank you for leaving us with that fun fact.
Thanks, Zoe.
Thanks, Zoe.
Guys,
Thanks for coming along.
it's been great. Thank you so much.
See you.
If you'd like more information about what's going on at Disciples Church, check out our website or email us at podcast@disciples.org.au if you have any questions or feedback. Thanks for listening in. We'll catch you next time.